to the planning board to work out those details. There are some technical issues that we have worked out with regard to sewer and water. We proposed one pump station there. That's a technical aspect. And initially there were thoughts that we might need 3 pump stations. It's now been reduced based on Mr. Tice's review of the changing law as it deals with grinder pumps, etc., that we can do this project with 1 pump station, and the grinder pumps will be owned and maintained, be the responsibility of the homeowners association and the individual residents. Just so that you know, we didn't come before the town and say 186, take it or leave it. We started out with the project with 204 units. The town planning board then requested that my clients pay for, and I think it was an expense of like $7,500, that the town consultant evaluate this design that we had proposed and determine whether the 186 is the appropriate number of units for this development. And we had a lengthy dialogue, give and take, and I think there was a couple meetings at that, over that, and the town consultant came back and said, yes, 186 is appropriate. They did request some changes. We had proposed putting housing on this side of the roadway, and which would have potentially, because we wanted to talk about stormwater and other things, and they thought that it would be appropriate not to have a lot of housing on this side, the west side of the multi-purpose path, because they wanted a party who was using the multi-purpose path to have the ability to look at green space. Yes, we do have a few buildings there, but I think that was a compromise given the fact that a multi-purpose path, that entire length is fairly costly, but I think it is clearly a public benefit. So once again, I know several of the town board members are new and you weren't privy to seeing me 15 or 18 other times, but you know, I'm here to answer anybody's questions or comments, and as well as the public.
Okay, Don, thank you. I know I will do it now. If anybody, and Rick, I think you're ready.
That's okay.
Anybody that has a question for Don, or
you might want to turn it around so that we've seen it, the public can see it.
Rick, I think you want to do it.
Oh, that's okay. Would you want to offer it to them?
No, we'll just go back.
Oh, thank you. Don, you mentioned that the thoroughfares are going to be entitled to the beds of the roads are going to be remaining with the homeowner association?
Except for the Boulevard Road that is going to extend north-south. Yes.
Which would
be owned by the town.
Okay, so the town would accept that, presumably under this scenario, and, maintenance would obviously fall to the town.
And besides, I forgot to mention, besides the Boulevard entrance, I've worked in a couple of communities where we have this roundabout and this cul-de-sac, and what happens is we would like to reserve the right to maintain that through the homeowners association. I've seen too many times where adjoining property owners say, well, this is right in front of my house. I want to pick the flowers versus having a uniform plan for that. So that's something else that we would like to be responsible under the homeowners association.
Where is it? I'm just trying to, in terms of where is it, it's a boulevard to where, again?
Boulevard runs from this point
right
to here.
To there,
right.
Okay.
And the reason for that is because we have a long one-point entry until this property in the north is developed. Okay. And so we thought that by having the boulevard entrance for fire safety protection, by creating the boulevard, each travel lane would be deemed an independent travel lane, so that if something happens on this side of the boulevard, an emergency vehicle could drive up the other side. And as you can see, there's certain areas where you can cut across. So we thought, I think that has occurred in many communities where you have limited frontage on an existing street.
Will there be sidewalks planned for that boulevard?
As I said, the multi-purpose path will run within the right-of-way right next door to the boulevard.
So it's obvious, it's strictly pedestrian?
And bicycle.
And bicycles,
yes.
It's not vehicular then?
No. I wouldn't propose no, but at the end of the day, since it's in the right-of-way, it's a town determination. I would think if, since the town is going to own and maintain that multi-purpose path,
Okay.
I would think that you would have some sort of mechanized vehicle given the snowfalls. You know, you're not gonna have someone shovel it. You know,
Right.
it could be perfect for a plow, 8-foot wide plow.
Right, I was just trying to get a handle on its general intent. It sounds like it's more pedestrian.
Absolutely.
In terms of
Right.
bicycling and whatnot.
And, you know, there are, like, the town of Colony has that bike path along the Hudson River and Mohawk River. That's what we're looking for, that type of feature. And this is we're about, in excess of 2,700 feet? 3,700 feet. It's 3/4 of a mile in length. So it is, we are proposing something that I think is a good start and a good precedent for the town to have.
Just one more question in terms of the street beds that are going to remain with the homeowner association. In terms of the water and sewer infrastructure that's going to be within,
We would give,
who's going to be owning that infrastructure? And who's responsible for operation and maintenance?
the town would be.
The town will be. Okay.
Yes, because for fire safety and water flow and everything, it's best to have that.
With the municipality.
And I think at our last workshop session, I believe Hank Barber confirmed that that's what's done in other.
Yeah, we would own the mains in the street, but the actual laterals will be maintained by the homeowners association.
The laterals, of course, right. That's not a problem, Rich, in terms of, I always thought that it was a kind of a precedent that any such infrastructure owned by municipalities requires that the underlying roadbed in which it's situated is owned by the town, but that's not necessarily the case?
No.
Who would repair the street if it had to be dug up
Yeah, that's what I would want.
to repair a water line? Would the association repair the streets?
Yeah.
So would they have any say and oversight in the type of street digging up that was done and
No,
to
we
limit their
grant
costs?
the municipality the easements for the maintenance and do whatever is necessary, and we would include in our budget and for regular maintenance repairs of the street.
Okay. Thank you, Tom.
Anybody else at this time want to question Don or anyone?
I have a question. I don't know if any of the public wanted to ask anything, I can certainly wait. The multi-purpose path that you mentioned, and you said it was going to be 8 feet wide,
Yes.
will there be any delineation on that for bike path versus pedestrian walking or running or something? I thought I've seen that where they've had not the signature, but they've had the designation for riding a bike. And I just wondered, is it just going to be, asphalt or?
I think it's pretty much asphalt. We
Okay.
might, I think there may be signs placed so that people walking are advised that they should be aware of the fact that bikes, and when bikers come along, you should move to the right of the pathway as much as possible.
I think that would be helpful. And is there going to be any, you mentioned before about the drainage, is there going to be any retention or detention pond on the property?
Mr. Brewer will address that. He's the drainage man.
Yeah, we're showing right now proposed, we're showing here 4 areas. These, the light brown
Mhm.
are proposed retention areas.
Okay,
We had, as Don mentioned, we had several along in here too, off the side of this wetland area here. But we did away with them in favor of maintaining the trees and the woods here.
okay. So you said there were 4 different
So,
sites on that property?
And
yes, that's the proposal right now. We may, with the way the stormwater requirements are now, we may wind up with additional areas, possibly some small pocket areas and things like that.
Just attended a meeting about MS4, so it's a question.
Well, I was going to state that the municipal regulations changed as of March 1, and as a result, there are more stringent requirements with regards to stormwater management. And, it becomes more costly for my client because, as I said, we had our public hearing in September of 2009, but things outside everybody's control has led us to be here today. And one other thing I just want to point out, because people are often concerned about densities, besides having this recreational area and all this green space, if you look, we have laid it out so there's courtyards behind the rear of the home, so that there are also areas immediately adjacent to the living space for people to have their picnics or, have their cookouts, et cetera, outside of their units. So they don't have to necessarily travel a half a mile to the clubhouse. But we think the clubhouse is a good amenity for people who decide to have a large gathering.
Thank you.
Anyone else with any questions or comments, either pro or negative?
Don,
Yes.
the entrance road coming in before you get to the site there, you're gonna require the fee to that, actually, right? That's not just an easement.
Right, we're going to need that